Hi everyone, Ashley here. So now that I'm back from my trip to Walt Disney World, I wanted to start making videos regarding the accessibility in each park that I visited as a wheelchair user, including how the DAS Pass worked in each park. So let's deep dive into my first park day, which was Animal Kingdom. So my grandmother and I got to Animal Kingdom about 30 minutes to an hour after they opened, and one of the main goals for the park that we had was to do things that we had never done before. So we wanted to learn how to draw a character at the conservation station. But in order to get to the conservation station, we had to take a train from the main part of Animal Kingdom to the other side. And I had never seen another wheelchair user's point of view about whether or not this train was accessible, so I was a little bit worried, but what ended up happening was we got put in a train car by ourselves, and then I just ended up backing into the train car and putting my brakes on, and it was 100% accessible for me, thank goodness. But I will say, I am a manual wheelchair user, and my chair is small, and the space that I fit into was also small. And so I know that some power chairs are big and some of them may be wide as well. I'm not entirely sure a power chair user could fit into the space that I did comfortably. What I would recommend doing if you're a power chair user is contacting Disney and just talking to them about it, and they will do their best to give you the right answer or to accommodate you the best that they can once you're in the park. After we learned how to draw Pluto, we walked around a little bit, and then on the train ride back to the main part of Animal Kingdom, I did a DAS return time for Mount Everest because the standby line was like 35 to 40 minutes. And actually, by the time we got to Mount Everest, because we got super lost, it was our time to scan into the ride. I will say that if you are a wheelchair user, they ask you multiple times if you're comfortable transferring throughout the line at each point that you see a cast member, just in case something happens and you change your mind, they'll know. But they ended up putting me in the last row, and the last train car, because the Mount Everest ride is train related, and so they ended up putting me on the last row of the train, and this row has a door that like swings open so that if you need assistance like a transfer board or the portable grab bar, it gives you enough space to be able to use those things safely and efficiently without feeling cramped, so you can transfer safely. But I didn't end up using either because my grandmother was with me, but they are there if you want or need to use them. So yeah, Mount Everest accessibility was super easy with the swing out door and the assistive devices that they offered if people need or want to use them was also very helpful to know.
Attention Expedition Everest Kingdom. Once
Okay, so after the river rapids, we decided to go to the Kilimanjaro Safari, and I love the safari, and so I did a Daz return for it as well, and we actually got lost, so because Animal Kingdom is like huge, and it's sectioned off by like countries, so like Asia, Africa, things like that. And so by the time we made it to Kilimanjaro Safari, it was time for us to scan in for the ride. And I actually ended up staying in my wheelchair the whole entire duration of the safari. So let me explain how their accessibility works. So I did end up having to wait about 10 minutes for one of their accessible safari trucks because they only have, I think, one or two of them. But when the safari truck finally became available and it was our turn to get on, they brought a little portable ramp and they set it against the entrance of the truck where you get in, and then I was rolled backwards onto the truck, and then how they made sure my chair was secured was they used the little, I don't know what they're called, but they're like hooks that you see like on public transit for wheelchairs that keep them in place so they don't go anywhere. And they also had a seatbelt as well, but I opted not to use that. And then we also loaded at another area just because it took me a while to get situated. Like they had to strap me in and all that good stuff, and that probably took like 5 minutes. And also just to note that they do offer the same portable grab bar and the transfer board if one needs or wants to utilize it and transfer into the safari truck instead of staying in their chair. That's just what I opted to do, was stay in mine. But yeah, I thought that their accessibility was super cool. And yeah. So the next ride we rode was Dinosaur, and this was in Dino Land. And if you don't know, Dino Land is closing officially in February of 2026. Like the games and stuff like that, those are already closed. But Dinosaur is officially closing in February, and I'm really sad because I hate that they're getting rid of like all the nostalgic rides and attractions. Anyways, uh, I did a return time for it as well, and by the time we got to it, it was time to scan in. And so once we did that, they asked me again if I was comfortable transferring it, and I said yes. And so once we got through the line and all that, they took us a different direction, and we took the elevator downstairs, which was where the ride vehicles were. And this one was a little bit smoother. It just took me a while. And so how I did it was they offered me the aids that I have talked about previously, you know, the portable grab bar and the transfer board, but I just declined that, and my grandmother helped me on to the ride. And so how it went was I was able to pull my wheelchair all the way up to the ride vehicle, and then my grandmother helped me out and helped me into the ride seat. So that one went a lot more smoother and a lot more faster than the other ones. Just be prepared that some people may huff and puff about it like they did with us. But if you're a wheelchair user, you should be able to pull your wheelchair all the way up as close as you can get to the dinosaur ride vehicle, and then after that they'll just take your chair and they'll put it to the side, and that way when you get off it's right there for you. But yeah, I'm super sad about dinosaur leaving. We then prioritized shows. So we did the Festival of the Lion King, which is my absolute favorite production on Disney property. Okay, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's worth it. Now, there really isn't a lot of accessibility stuff that I can say other than they mark off certain sections for wheelchairs, and there's only about 5 spaces for wheelchairs in there per show. But keep in mind that those spots are also used for EVC scooters. And so, yeah, the only accessibility that I can point out is that there are designated spots for wheelchair users and EVCs. They're just extremely limited. But I'm also visually impaired, if you haven't noticed by the size of my glasses. I am extremely visually impaired. I can only see 5 feet in front of me, and so the accessible spots for wheelchairs and EVCs was also directly in front of where everything was going on at, which I was very grateful for. But yeah, the only accessibility that I can add about that is that there are designated spots on each side of the theater for wheelchair users and scooters. Okay, so as you can see, it got dark on me, but the last show that my grandmother and I did at Animal Kingdom was Finding Nemo, and I personally love this show. I think it's very well put together, and their accessibility worked a lot like the Lion King shows did. Their accessible seating was located in front of the stage on the bottom level, but it was also located on the top level as well in multiple different sections of the auditorium. The show that we attended was full already for the accessible seating on the bottom, so we were escorted to a wheelchair accessible seating area a few rows up on the second floor of the auditorium. Now, as I mentioned before, I am extremely visually impaired. I'm actually having eye surgery next week, but if you're visually impaired like me and you get this spot, I actually used my phone camera to magnify everything on the stage so I could see it. So I could just see it, because without the magnifying, I wouldn't have been able to have seen anything. So just be prepared that the accessible seating in Finding Nemo is located in several different sections of the auditorium. So if you need a upfront spot by the stage, get there earlier than my nanny and I did. Okay, and then really quick, I did go to Pandora. I wasn't the biggest fan of the rides here. The atmosphere is incredible. It's beautiful. and stuff like that. I'm just not a big fan of like rides where you have to sit in front of a screen. That makes sense. And the boat ride that everybody talks about, it was beautiful, but I'm not a big Avatar fan, unfortunately. But I will talk about the 2 rides that I did ride real quick, and then I promise I'm done. Day 2 of me trying to finish this video, so let's deep dive into it again. The first ride I rode in Pandora was Avatar Flight of Passage, and I wasn't sure what to expect in regards to like whether or not I could stay in my chair for the duration of this ride, because I hadn't really had any interest in riding it before, but I was like, why not? So this ride, I had a very difficult time transferring onto the ride vehicle, because the ride vehicle is like a motorcycle bike, and my legs don't swing over a seat that well, and so it took me a long time to even be able to swing my leg over due to my tightness, even with my grandmother's help. And then so the first ride that I rode in Pandora was Avatar Flight of Passage, and I had never ridden it before, so I had no idea what to expect in regards to whether or not like I could stay in my chair or what, but I was very surprised. So when we got in line, they of course asked me if I was comfortable transferring, and I said yes. But I don't think I'm going to be riding it again, just because the way you have to sit on the ride vehicle is very hard for me to do. So it's like a motorcycle, and so my legs had to swing over from one side to the other in order to sit on it properly. And my CP causes my legs to be very, very tight. Even though I've had a bunch of surgeries done, the spasticity is still there, especially due to the fact that I was overcorrected during one surgery. So it's very hard for me to sit in that position and transfer onto rides like that. And then once I was seated on the motorbike, which took about 10 minutes for me to do, then you're strapped in here, and your legs and your back are also strapped in. Due to me having a feeding tube, my feeding tube is very sensitive, and the restraints were kind of tight. So just be prepared that if you want to ride Avatar Flight of Passage, you will have to transfer onto like a motorcycle bike, and you will be restrained in your chest area, your legs, and also your back. So, which to me, I'm so little, so the chest restraint also touched my feeding tube. It made it irritated, and it hurt the rest of the day. So if you also have a feeding tube, please be aware that the chest restraint could make it more sensitive. Also, just something to note about Avatar Flight of Passage is if you have issues transferring onto the motorbike like I did, as far as I know, to my knowledge, they do not have the portable grab bar or the transfer board due to the type of ride vehicle that it is. So just be prepared. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. Okay, so the last ride I ended up riding in Animal Kingdom was, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong because I'm not a big Avatar person, Navi River Journey. Now, if you've ever rode like Pirates of the Caribbean at Magic Kingdom, then it's literally the same ride except Avatar themed. And their accessibility worked the same. I had to transfer into their boat, and my grandmother just helped me, and then we actually had to get off in a different section just because of the fact that I had a wheelchair, and I guess cast members are not allowed to touch it, although I'm not sure. But yeah, Navi River Journey was super cool. The animatronic was beautiful, although I couldn't tell if like it was the actual animatronic or if it was like the screen that I've been seeing everywhere. But yeah, if you're a wheelchair user and you want to get on this ride, just know that you do have to transfer into their boat, but you can pull your wheelchair all the way up to the boat and then transfer. My grandmother just lifted me and then put me in the boat. So thankful for her. I love her so much. But they also have the transfer devices like the grab bar and then the I forgot the name, the transfer board. So yeah, super cool, but I'm not sure I would ride it again. So the reason why I wanted to share my experience as a wheelchair user in regard to accessibility at Animal Kingdom first is because it is truly one of my favorite parks and very underrated in my opinion. I feel like you can learn a lot about animals and conservation by visiting just the conservation station itself. And so I just was really excited to share my vlog and then share this video as well so that other wheelchair users can know what to expect, because I know that I don't really see a lot of wheelchair users' point of view about Animal Kingdom. So I was like, I just really want to share it. So thank you so much for watching and listening to my ramblings. It truly does mean the world to me, especially because these videos are so freaking long. One day I will learn not to make them so long. But please feel free to comment, like, share, all that good stuff so you won't miss when I upload something new. And I highly recommend Animal Kingdom for all wheelchair users.